in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Stephen Jackson with Imprintables Warehouse, and you're attending one of the Great Garment Graphics webinars. Today we're going to be talking about CorelDraw and workflow for CAD cutting. We're going to be concentrating on a lot of the areas in CorelDraw on Workspace Setup, and tools that you can use, and ways to simplify your production so that you can get accurate output for CAD cutting. Where a lot of times we get these designs and they have overlapping lines, they may have color issues where we're trying to separate out into a multicolor design. We're going to take a look at ways to make that a lot simpler for you. I get a lot of times the how-to questions regarding getting artwork ready, and that's what we're going to be looking at today for you. But first, we have a couple survey questions. So the first one will pop up here in just a second.
Okay, hello. My name is Jody, and I would also like to extend a warm welcome to everybody attending, and thank you for taking your time out today to join us. And our first poll question today is, what brand of cutter do you use?
Okay, so the poll question's up there. Just pick one of them, like it shows on there. If you don't have one of the three models that we have listed there, or the three brands, just pick on other, and we're kind of getting an idea of what the popularity and what people are using out there. So we'll give it a second or two.
Yeah. And I will close right now. So it looks like, Stephen, 59% have a Roland, 24% have a GCC, 18% a Graphtec, and 18% are using an other brand of cutter.
Okay, that sounds about what we've been seeing as a general rule of thumb. The Rolands are a fantastic machine, and the GCCs are definitely gaining a lot of popularity. So let's go right into the second one.
Okay, and that is, do you currently use multimedia designs?
What we're talking about with multimedia designs isn't necessarily just two different colors of the same media, like say you're using ecofilm. We're looking more along the lines of if you're doing ecofilm mixed with flock or something like that. But if you feel multimedia is just two different colors, by all means go ahead and mark that down. Wow, that was quick.
Yes, it was. We got quick answers there. So 60% of attendees do say yes, they do use multimedia designs.
Excellent. And for those that you out there that are not, hopefully this webinar will help you learn a little bit more about it and possibly use those to get a better profit margin for you. Next one's up.
Yep. What market do you wish to expand more into?
This one we're just taking a look in and seeing where everybody's at and what they want to get into. Say you're a small-time shop that you're just doing a lot of corporate stuff for the local town and you want to hit more into sports. Well, this lets us know that, and we can kind of target some of our future webinars to help you out a little bit more with that.
There you go. Can you see those results, Stephen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good.
They're small on my screen, though.
So 55% would like to expand more into corporate and retail, and 45% are looking to get into sports, 10% other.
Interesting. It's almost even all the way down there.
It is.
Except for other, obviously. Okay. Helps us out.
And then our last poll question is, do you currently offer signed media products?
Now, signed media products can be anything from a Coroplast sign that's decorated, a banner, to simply a decal that's put onto a car, or something as simple as that. So anything that would not be heat transfer is what we're looking for.
Looks like it's almost half and half. So 48% say yes and 52% say no.
Okay. Those of you that say no, realize you have all the equipment and tools necessary to get into the sign market, and it's another way that you can bring more revenue into your shop. So very, very interesting on those poll results. Thank you, Jody, and thank you, everybody, for giving us that information. And now we'll jump into the presentation. This first slide here should be coming up. There we go. CorelDraw, which version are you using? I wanted to make sure that everybody knew on today's webinar we're going to be working with CorelDraw X5. The most recent version of CorelDraw is X6. Has some fantastic updates to it, a lot of new tools. It does work with Windows 7 64-bit architecture, so it's a little bit faster I personally think it's a little bit more stable and reliable. So if you're not already all the way up to X6, now would be a great time to look into it. CorelDraw is having a lot of deals going on, and they're promoting the upgrade to it. The upgrades are for a limited time for those that are X4 and earlier, and you don't want to miss out on getting a significant savings on that. So, but for today, we're going to be doing everything in X5, and for X3 and X4, all of the tips and tricks I'm going to show you today, they're all available in those versions too. So just kind of making sure everybody knows that there is an update out there. So the first slide that I have here for action items is Workspace Setup. I've had it in one of my webinars before where I talk about the Workspace Setup, but I think it's very important to get a setup designed and done so that you are comfortable with what you're working on and working in, and you have all the tools available to you for your workflow. I'm going to show the different Dockers that I use. They're all listed right here, and how you can open up those different Dockers, and then once you're done with that, you can save that. So say you have multiple employees and you want to have each one of the employees, they're a little picky and they want it set up their way. As we all know, everybody likes to have their desk set up their own way, and they have their own decorations and the phone in a certain placement and everything. And graphic designers, as a general rule of thumb, are just as picky and everything else. So having it set up a certain way and then allowing you to save it makes things a little bit easier, and everybody can pick the workspace if they're using the same computer. So here's my workspace. I like to have the object properties bar or Docker right over here. And anytime you see a Docker or any of these spots on the side over here, they're open and closed simply by, I could just click the close button on it. Let's close the object properties one. And then to get that back open again, I would go to Window and Dockers. And then I've got the properties one right here, and it'll open it back up. And you can move these around. If I wanted all these Docker bars on this side over here, I could move it over here. And let's see if I can get it to match in with it. And now it's either stacked like that, or I can bring all the rest of them and have them stacked together so that all my tabs are on the side over here, and I can look through them and just go to whichever one I want. And if there's one that's not showing on the side, I've got a little arrow to expand over here, and it shows me all the different Dockers I have. I personally like to have the object properties by itself on this side. Makes it a little bit easier for me, and I think it took everything for me. So let's grab and put that back. There we go, and I'll just take that object properties one. I grabbed the wrong spot there. So I'll grab that one and stick it over here. There we go. And it'll kind of snap to and expand out when it fits the area that it's going to go in. In this one here, I've got all my fill options that I can change whether I'm doing a uniform fill, fountain fill, or anything like that. And I've got my pen tool for working with width and outlines and everything on a design. So very handy to have set over there. That's the object properties one. Then of course we have color, where I can change the color of it. Maybe I want to have the fill, and I can lock it, and it'll show me exactly what fill that was right there. I could pick another color if I wanted to, and it'll change it right on the screen for me. And then I can go in between the different models of fill, and I can still use my color bars over to the side to change anything I want. The Color Palette Manager, this is so I can just open and close the different color palettes that I use. It's very handy, especially for those that outside of the cut realm maybe are doing work with screen printing and they need certain spot colors to send out, or if you're working with a large format digital printer, they have the roll and Versacam libraries right in here. There's lots of different options on colors. And if I want to have one show up, see I've got a couple over here, I'll just shut off that VDP one that I created, and maybe I'll cut off this the color system library, and you can see that they've added and subtracted on the right-hand side over there. This next one is color styles. I've actually got to have a couple objects on here to have this work nicely and show you. So I'll do a red, and then I'll add in, and let's do like this tealish green color. If I take all of these over here and I select everything on the screen and I drag it into that color styles docker, you can see that they're all listed here now. And I could change any one of them. Maybe that red I don't want to be red anymore. I can right-click on it and edit that color. And I'm going to pick a different hue of red maybe. And I'll go to this reddish-orange color here and then hit OK, and it changes it on there. Now if I'd had multiple objects, say like I'll make a couple of the blues on here, And now I'll take that baby blue color and we're going to edit that. I right-clicked on it to edit the color. And we're going to change it to this green. So it's going from blue to green. And when I hit OK, you'll see it'll change all the colors within that document that match to that. So this is a very handy tool if I'm trying to change something in the document. I've got a certain color in my design and I want it to match up with the CAD-cut film that I'm going to be using. And I have different elements in there and I just want to choose everything that's the same color in there. And I'm just changing the color. I'm not moving those objects around or anything because you notice it didn't select all the objects. And we're going to go over that one later on, how to select all the objects of the same color. But it allowed me to change the colors of a single color in the document very quickly and easily. So that's the color styles. The transformation one, this is another favorite of mine. If I want to change position or size or anything like that, I can change the size right here. I can skew it. I can angle it. If I need to make this guy 5 inches by 5 inches, right there, and now I hit apply. It's 5 inches by 5 inches. And you can maintain proportional or however you want to do it and make copies of it and everything. So there's a lot of controls over here. If I want to control size and everything here, but I also have at the top toolbar over here all my size and location. So that is normally within Corel. That's a default setup for that one. And then there's all sorts of other dockers that you can do. I've got right now bitmap color mask. I've got another color one. I think that's it on the side. Object manager, where you've got your different layers and I can select the objects all the way down. So that's a brief overview of Workspace Setup. If I wanted to save this, I'm going to go to Tools, and then under Options, it's opening on a separate screen, Tool and Customization. Bring this over, and I've got Workspace. I can tell it to be a different workspace. I can create a new workspace, and we'll call this one, and it opened up another screen, we'll call this one Steven. And don't need a description for this. I'll hit OK. It should show up in here for us. And now it's right there. Now I can also have it, see this box here, select workplace at startup. If I select that one there, when I open up Corel next time, it'll ask me which one of these workspaces I want to use. It'll set right now as the default of Steven. It'll come up every time. But I could also export this workspace and take it to a different computer and install it there for Corel so that I've got everything set up and it's nice and neat for me. So we'll hit OK on that and we'll get out of that portion of it. And let's go back to the slideshow. So that's our workspace setup and a little discussion about the Dockers and how everything works. Let's take a look at the next slide. Now we're going to talk about some stuff that really makes setting up for CAD cutting work. If a lot of times we're working with different objects, it's a vector logo or something like that, and we need to be able to control where the lines are, how our shapes are, and to work within that. And I like to use all the weld, trim, intersect, all these functions right here. So I'm going to go over these different functions in Corel and kind of show you how each one of them works and where they come from. So we'll skip back over to Corel. So we'll get rid of a couple of these boxes. I don't need all of these here. So I look at these 3 boxes here, and I can move each one around. They're all individual objects. And maybe I'll make that one overlap a little bit, especially for a little bit later in this. We're going to show you one of the functions. So we've got all of our different boxes right here. And if I draw a marquee box, it's kind of a selection box. You use your selection or pick tool right here, and I draw it around all of them. Now I have a set of functions up top that opens up for me. I've got all these different icons right here, and the first one in it is weld. And weld, anytime you hover over one of these, it'll open up and tell you what it is and give you a brief description. You can see in there, combine objects into a single curve object in a single fill and outline. So if I select weld, you'll see that they all went to the same color. It's one single piece. If I look at this in wireframe mode, there's no other lines there. I'll hit Control-Z so you can see all the different lines that were overlapping on this. This is very handy if I need to have several objects together. I need to weld it into one because that's the only portion I need to CAD cut. So Weld Tool can help us out real quick with that. So the next one on here is trim. So let's go and look at this. I've got some shortcut keys set up, and I had to designate these ones, and you can do that in CorelDraw. But anytime you see a little number at the bottom or a combination here, like this had F9, this has Control F2, these are shortcut keys, and I recommend that everybody get learn the shortcut keys within CorelDraw, and if there's some things that you use all the time, like for me, I go in between Enhanced and Wireframe View constantly, I set up some custom shortcut keys for those ones there so that I can switch in between them. But right now we'll go back to Enhanced View, and let's move this guy out of the way for a second. We'll select these two here, and the next one on it is Trim. And this one says cut a portion of an object by using the shape of another object. If I select on this one, you'll see now that it trimmed that portion off from this portion. And we'll take a look at that again in Wireframe. When I select the trim, you'll see that it just knocked that portion out. So if I've got an overlapping line or an overlapping object and I'm trying to set it up for CAD cutting, this is a very quick and easy way for me to do it because I can just use that trim function and it kind of knock that out. It's also good for trying to create a certain area maybe. If I wanted to create an L shape like that, instead of taking two rectangles and lining them up and doing all that and then welding it together, I could simply take two boxes, get this guy lined up where I wanted to. I'm happy with that. And then I use the trim function and I've got an L shape now that I've created. So trim's a very useful tool. Now let's take a look at the next one in there. The next one down here is Intersect. Now with Intersect, it creates an object from the area where the two or more objects overlap. Well, the overlap in this is actually underneath this one. So if I look at this in wireframe mode, it's going to create an object down in there. So let's try that. Intersect, and now it created an object that was right in there. We'll go back to our regular view there. Let's try it with three objects. So again, I'll select all three. I'll do my Intersect, and it created an object down at the bottom there. So let's take a look at that in wireframe so you can see it. And I'm switching in between so you guys can see that, yes, I've got the shortcut key, but you can see where everything's at too. So again, we'll go to our Intersect, and there's the object that was created. The intersection of all three of those objects is where it created this here. So voila. Okay. Now let's try the next one down in here and simplify. This one I'm actually going to come back to because there's some neat things that you can do with that one. It's a very, very handy tool. Let's go and move this guy aside. We don't need these two anymore. And we'll select the first two. And on this one we've got front minus back. It removes the back object from the front object. And you can see how it trimmed it. Even though it was behind it, we selected the front minus back. So it took that portion out of it. And conversely, the one right next to it, back minus front. Kind of like the trim function that we had earlier, but it removes that object that we don't need anymore. So if you're trying to make things a little speedier with that, sometimes that's a way to go right there. So we'll put that one back. Now last but not least, well, not quite last because we're going to go back to simplify. The next one on here, and this one I like a lot. This one's create a boundary, and it creates a new object that surrounds the selected objects. Now, as many of you have seen my webinars before, or been to my blog or anything like that, you know I use a roll and VersaCam a lot, and I'm always trying to make cut lines that go around it. But this one here, instead of just welding it, maybe I need those objects to stay the way they are, but I want a cut line that goes around all of this, I can select this one here. And it creates a new object that surrounds the selected objects. So once I've created that, I drag it to the side, and you can see it created a perfect line going all the way around those edges right there. Very handy for when I'm working with something that's, say, like a print and cut device, CAD cutting. Maybe I wanted just that shape there, and I wanted to retain these because I'm going to alter them and then create some more shapes. So there's a lot of uses to this one here. If I just did weld on this one, I lose the inside shapes. It becomes one piece, and there's nothing left inside there. So maybe I'm trying to create separate objects, and this is a handy way to do that. So that is our create boundary around. Now, last but not least, I skipped over it a little bit. We've got our simplify one here. Now simplify, it trims overlapping areas among objects. So if I click on this one, what you'll see happen is it trimmed each one of these nice and neat, exactly like they looked on the screen. It's almost what you see is what you get type thing. Let me put them back and put it all the way back. I hit Control-Z a bunch of times to put everything back there. And we'll go to View in our wireframe mode. If I go right here and select all of it again and I do simplify, now this is very, very useful for CAD cutting because if we have it and we have the three different colors like you see right here, and I want to be able to create and cut out each one of those different colors in a different film or media. But all these intersecting lines, when I look at it here, is going to cause a lot of headaches and issues. Simplify kind of sets things up as what you see is what you get, and it's going to remove everything else. So let's click on that, and now you can see it got rid of all the intersecting lines and overlaps. I'm all set to go on this. So I could send that over to my cutter, separate them into different pages maybe, and now I can send it over, and I know I'm not going to have a layer overlapping on a layer. Sometimes you want overlapping layers, but sometimes you want to punch out that design back there. So it's kind of like a cookie cutter motion that cuts them apart, and I've got different pieces that I can use effectively. One of my favorite tools in there is the Simplify one. So very, very effective at what it does. So let's hop back over to the presentation real quick. So we talked about, well, oh, there's one that I forgot there, it looks like. Last one is this Smart Fill. So let's move this guy back. Smart Fill is a very handy tool. It does very similar to some of the trim and overlap functions. It's this tool right here in the toolbox, and it creates objects from overlapping areas and applies a fill to those objects. So maybe I want to keep this one as is, but I just need that shape, and I'm doing a different color. So I can select my Smart Fill, and I can tell it if I want to fill or specify it. We'll specify it. We'll use this color that's here, that's fine, and outline. Maybe I don't want any outline on it, so I'll say no outline there. And now I get this crosshair, this little pointer that's on the screen, and it's waiting for me to click with inside an object. So I just want this shape here, and I'm going to make it that grayish color that you see up there. So when I click inside there, it filled that area, and I'll go back to my pick tool so I can move it aside. And there's the object that it created. So sometimes, say we've got a bunch of objects here. We'll draw some circles, and I've got all sorts of areas here, and I want that slice right here. And I've got a lot of objects on the screen, but that's the shape, the exact one I want. So I'll go back to my Smart Fill tool, and instead of going through a bunch of trim or weld functions, I can simply click inside that area, and now I have the object that I want in the exact shape that I want and whatever color I want. So Smart Fill tool can actually take a very complex graphic and something you're having a lot of problems with and create a very simple solution to it. Now that is enclosed objects. If one of these was an open object, we'll say we'll put a line across here. Since it's enclosed on both sides, this would work with the Smart Fill. What I mean by enclosed on both sides, it's finished there and it's finished here, so Smart Fill catches that portion there. So we'll hit Control-Z. And I'm going to edit this node. If that wasn't quite finished in there, what will happen with the Smart Fill is it will do a Smart Fill, but you notice it didn't cut off anything there because there was no boundary to stop it. So we end up getting a piece that's just like the one before. So if you're working with these types of graphics and you're just drawing a line to kind of intersect an area, you want to make sure, I'll zoom in on this a little bit so you guys can see it real well. You'll want to make sure that that finishes all the way across. We'll extend it out a little bit. Extends all the way across so there's something to stop it. So picture this like you're taking a paint bucket and you're dumping it into an area, but it has to have some sort of edge and boundary to stop it, whereas before it didn't when it was over like this, and it just flowed right around and filled up that whole area. But as soon as we cut it off, and I'll use the Smart Fill again, you can see it stops right on the edges. So I can keep going along, and those are separate objects. So Smart Fill tool can be very handy. Very useful. I use it in a lot of different designs when I'm trying to make a quick shape or something and I just need to cut off a portion there. So there we have an overview of those. So we talked about the weld, we talked about trim, intersect, simplify, front minus back, back minus front, create a boundary, and Smart Fill is the last one on there. Hopefully those will help you out with some of your designs. And I'm going to show a couple designs and how these will help out with that here in just a minute or two. I'm going to talk about the alignment tools a little bit right now and emphasize again shortcuts. Every webinar, every video I do, I talk about shortcuts. Learning these keystrokes, folks, is going to make things so much faster for you. You can customize them to whatever you want, but just learn your shortcuts. They will make things a lot easier. I'm going to show you group versus combine and what the difference is, and then we're going to talk about how to work with some text and contour tools and which one's better for what, and how to convert those outlines on text to an object. So let's go back in, and we'll delete all the stuff here. We don't need any of that junk anymore. So, alignment tools. We'll make a couple of squares. Move this guy here, and we'll give them, zoom in on this one, we'll give them some different fills. Got all sorts of different sizes, so we'll make that one blue, this one red, do an orange, and we'll do a like tealish color there, or cyan rather. So with the alignment tools, you can select all of these here, and there's shortcuts for everything, but all these weld and trim and everything up here, down at the end there's align and distribute. That's a very handy tool to go to. I can click on that one there, and it'll open up a dialog for me, which is on my other screen. I apologize. And now I can align these guys. I can pick the top, the center, bottom, left, center, and right. So let's do top on this one, and when I hit apply, you'll see all of the tops are aligned now. If I wanted to do the center of it and hit apply, now it's the center of the objects, and so on and so forth. So I've selected all those objects, and now I can work with all of this in here. The distribute right here, I can tell it I want maybe, say, spacing in between it to be even. So when I hit apply here, you'll see that it evened out the spacing. It didn't shift the ends, but it distributed the spacing evenly across all of the objects in here. And I can do it top, bottom, and all this and so forth here. So there's a lot of controls you can do with this. Let me hit close on this, because I can also go to arrange up top here and align and distribute. And you can see right there the same thing I've been talking about throughout this webinar, all the shortcut keys. So if I wanted to align them all to the top, I accidentally clicked on it there, I could simply hit T. Or if I want to go to the bottom, I can hit B. If I want to align everything to the right, now everything's to the right, I'll hit Control Z, and so on and so forth. You can see where those align and distribute tools can make things very quick and easy to work with. So say I need these two at the bottom and these two over here at the top. I hit top on that one, and it matters which one you select first. I selected this one first, so the top of that one went to this one. If I had gone the other way in my selection and hit top, oops, sorry, this way, now it matters in which way you select it. I'll go back and do that one more time. I've selected this one, and it's going to go to the top of that one. So I want this one to move over there to the top. I'll hit Control Z. I want this guy to go to the top of this one, so I'm holding down Shift and selecting the second one, and I hit top, or T, and so on and so forth. So you can see that you can quickly and easily manipulate these and move them around. So, talked about shortcuts, group versus combine. If I take these objects here and I select around all of them, down at the bottom here I can see 4 objects selected on layer 1. If I group them, I can go to Arrange and Group, which is Control G, and Ungroup is Control U. Now it says a group of 4 objects. Those are still individual objects. If I want to change them around, I can break them apart, and you can see all of them are right here. I'll hit Ungroup on this, Control U, and if I go to Combine, now it's all the same object. And you can see that they all changed to be identical to each other in their properties on fill and outline. So if I'm combining it, I'm making it into one object that later on I could break apart. I might right-click on it and break curve apart, and then I could select the individual portions of it and change their properties. But if I hit Control Z to go back, so if these guys here are one single object, when I change one property of it, it changes it across there. So sometimes I'll want to use my group function, and sometimes I'll want to use the combine function, and each one of them have their benefits. And you want to make sure that you're controlling it appropriately. If I need to change the properties of the individual objects later on while I'm working with it, I'll want to use the group function. And that way I can move them around and keep them aligned and keep them locked together. It's kind of like screwing them all together so that they stay in one piece, but they have individual properties, whereas the combine is kind of like welding, and it makes it all into one object with all the same properties. So let's take a look next at working with some text. So I'll just type in test here, and I'll make it nice and big so everybody can see it. And I'll choose a little bolder font. I got a lot of fonts installed here, so it takes a second sometimes for it to open up. One thing you want to realize, if you have a lot of fonts on your computer, it's going to take it even longer to find them all on there. So I've got this text right here, and I've got my object properties Docker, and I can use the outline tool on this to change my outline. Right now it's at a hairline. I'll change the color of it to red, and let's do something like a 16 point, something nice and bold. It's a nice effect right there, and I've got a two-color design. But the problem is, if I really look at this, it's not a two-color design to be able to send over to my cutter. If I go to View in Simple Wireframe, you can see that it only shows the black portion there. And if I look down on my right-hand corner here, I can see my fill properties and my outline properties, and that outline is red. And maybe I want to cut both of those and have it red and black and separate objects and work with that. If I'm making a copy here, I'm dragging it down and right-clicking because I'm going to adjust this one a slightly different way. If I have that there, and I'll come to the second one here, move this up so you guys can see it a little bit better, and I'm going to right-click on one of these boxes here with the X in it, and that'll remove my outline color. I could have done it over here also. The way I'm going to work with this one is I'm going to use the contour tool. So I come over here to my contour tool, and when I come over to the toolbox, it's normally on blend right here. If I hit that little nib that's in the corner, that little triangle, I can choose all the other options in there. So I'll go to contour, and it opens up all my contour control functions up here. I've got to the inside, to the center, to the outside, how many steps of the contour I'm going to do, what size the steps are going to be, and so on and so forth. So I'll make this one, it's going to be red on the fill, and we're going to do it to the outside instead of the inside. And we'll bump this out a little bit so it looks similar to what's up above. There we go, something fairly close to it. I can change it. Maybe I know exactly I want to go 0.2. I can hit 0.2 and put it in there. I still have some kerning going on here with this. So let's see if we can adjust that, and you'll see something interesting. It all stayed together while it's still a font and kept all that because it's all in the same object. That's also because this outline that I did here, this contour out there, is also independent. If I go to View and you see a wireframe, I don't see anything around it. So let's go and start adjusting these. With the test up here, I use the outline tool. With the test down here, I use the contour tool. With the outline tool, and it's not behind the fill. If I click on behind fill, it'll look a little bit closer to what's going on down here because of the width of everything. The contour is actually kind of behind the upper graphic there. So on this one, maybe I need to go thicker than a 16 point. 24 might be, no, that's not bad. 24 point is a lot closer to what it is down there. But we'll kind of break this apart. Right now I can go to Arrange, and there's no break apart or anything like that because I can break this artistic text apart and have them individual letters. But what I'm going to do is convert outline to object. When I click on that, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of new nodes and everything going on in there. I'll hit Control-Z so you guys can see this in wireframe. I'll go to Simple Wireframe, Arrange, and Convert Outline to Object, and you can see it created a whole bunch of lines in there because that outline where it extended across it was behind the fill before, is now its own object. So when I take it apart and move it, you can see what it created here. It created a whole new object that was based off of the width of that line, that 16 point or 24 point line that I had there. Now, if I were to cut these two separate pieces, I could stack this one onto the other one, but I would have open area on the inside of it. So maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to have it so that it's nice and even here and they butt up against each other. So on this one, I can work with it a little bit differently. When I go to Arrange and break Contour Group apart on this one, it creates an object that is full through, oops, I have them both selected. Make sure I just take the bottom one here, the red, and it shows me down in the corner that that's one I had. When I move this one across, it's a totally different object than the one up above. So there's two different ways to work with this and two different results from it. Realize when you're working with an outline and you have strokes and widths that you are creating something that can have those interior holes in it, whereas when I'm working with contour, I've got solid objects that are stacked on top of each other. And let's put some of this back because I want to show you with this one here. If I go to View and Wireframe, I've got all those lines here, but remember the Simplify tool up top? Let's go to the Simplify tool, and when I click on that one, look at what it created. It got rid of all those exterior lines, and if I look at it, it's kind of a what you see is what you get, and I have very similar to what the other one was there. Two separate defined objects, and it has a constant fill within it. So there are so many different ways to get to the same point within CorelDraw so that you can get what you want out of a desired result of it. It's just finding the way that works the best for you and you're most comfortable with. So that's a little bit on the outline text versus contour and how we can work with converting contour lines to outlines. And let's take a look. I'm going to delete this. We'll jump back over to our slideshow real quick. So how to access the different alignment tools. We showed a couple different ways. You can do the Align and Distribute tool that was at the end near our Weld and Trim functions, or I can go to Arrange and I've got all of them right there. If I use the tool that was at the end of all the functions, we'll jump back to that real quick so you guys can see it. We'll select all these guys. If I come to this one here, I can apply multiple things at the same time. I can do the distribution and apply it. I can do my alignment and apply it. And I can keep adjusting that graphic on the fly with this open. If I go to Arrange on that and go to my Align and Distribute, maybe I'm going to align left, it goes away once that is gone. It's just a one-time shot with that. So keep in mind that having the other one at the end gives you a little bit more control sometimes. Talked about shortcuts as always. Group versus combine. Group keeps them as individual properties in there, whereas combine makes them all one single object. An outline on a text versus a contour and how it creates different objects. This one, I've seen a lot of different people have sent me requests for help, and the texts they're getting all of these open areas in it, and they don't realize that that outline doesn't create an object until you convert it to an object, and then you've got the intercut lines on it. So when you're working with CAD cut films, that can cause some real headaches until you learn how to use it properly, and how to convert those outlines to objects, which was under the Arrange menu. So let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, we're going to talk about layering and set up the art for workflow and using multi-page setup for separating and selecting all of one color. So we'll jump back over to Corel. I've got a couple graphics on page 2 here, and we're going to take this one here, and I'm going to copy it and bring it to page 1. I'll get rid of all of these guys. Actually, let's create a page at the end. I just clicked and created a page. So page 2, I'm sorry. And we want to switch these two. I want to go to page 3 with nothing on it. There we go. Page 3 and Control V. We're going to put this guy in the center and we're going to make it a bit bigger. Here's our graphic that we want to work with. And I want to separate this out. I've got my design. I've colored everything the way I want. I'm very happy with it. But I want to separate this out for output to a device. And say I'm working with a Roland GX24, which over 50% of you said that you had. And I'm using the Cut Studio plugin, which is very easy to work with. Well, I can separate each one of these colors and create a separate page and then send those one page at a time to Cut Studio, so I'm cutting a single film at a time. So I want to cut just the lavender objects, and then I'm going to cut this light blue, this baby blue, and then the purple objects, but I want them all aligned and everything stacked together and spaced properly on it. So let's start off with the lavender one. I want to select everything that's that same color so that I can copy it and make a separate page for it. So what I'll do is I'll go to Edit, Find and Replace, and I'm going to go to Find Objects. And when I go to Find Objects, it opens up this wizard for me, and I'm going to begin a new search. Hit Next, and I can tell it if I want object types or fills or anything. Right now I'm looking for fill. I want that color. So I want a uniform color, and then I'll select Next. And I'm in a specific uniform color. I want that color, that light kind of lavender color right there. So I'll drop down this menu and I'll grab that eyedropper right there, and I'll just select it over the top of this color. You can see we've got it matched up there, and I'll select it. Yes, that's the color I want. I hit Next, and it's telling me the results of what it's going to do with the following uniform color. I tell it Finish, and it selected the first one in the entire graphic here that had that color. I can tell it to find next, or I can simply say find all, and now we'll close this out. If I move this aside, you'll see it selected all of the same color within the document there. Now, if you recall with the color styles docker, we were able to change colors, but it didn't select all of them. This is a quick way that I can select all of those colors so that I can separate it out, or maybe I can change the colors that way, or I have to change some property of it. So I'll put that back, and when I've got those selected, I'll simply hit Control-C, or I can go to Edit and Copy. I'll create a new page, and I'll hit Control-V. Now I've got my first graphic portion of a single color that I'm going to send to the cutter. I can hit the Cut Studio plugin, and that'll go over to the cutter, and I would be able to line up my film and cut that one out. I would have to mirror it first for my heat transfer CAD cuts, or if I'm doing sign materials, I've got it all set right there. So I can go back to page 3, and now I'm going to select the second color here. So again, I'll do the same thing. I'll go to Edit, Find and Replace, Find Objects. Keeps opening on a separate window for me, and I'll begin a new search. I'm going to do that fill color of a uniform color. I'll hit Next, and I want it to do a specific color of my choosing. I'll get that little eyedropper tool, and I'll go over here and make sure I'm hovering over the right color. Once I've got that selected, I'll hit Next and Finish. It tells me the specifics of it, and I can hit Find All. Close this out, and we can see I've got all of them. So I'll put that one back, Control-Z, and now I have page 3. I messed it up, so we'll have to go through that again because it deselected when I went in between pages. So Find Objects, bring it over from the other page. Next, I'm going to do Fill Uniform Color. I'm going to pick that color, go into the blue, Next and Finish, and Find All, and I'll hit Control-C. I'm going to copy all of that. And there's our next page, and I'll create one new page now and Control-V. So now I've got the second color there, and you can see when I click between the pages, everything's lined up, but it's breaking it up by color. So I could add another page now, and we'll go back to page 3 where everything's at, and once again, the last time on this, Find and Replace, Find Objects. And we'll go through this a little bit quicker this time. Uniform Fill, select my color. Next and Finish, Find All. I can close that, Control-C, and go to the last page and Control-V. And now I've got it all set up with my different separations of colors where I can send it over to the cutter. And I've got my page 3 here where I had everything all together. So if I cut it out this way, I've got everything all set up, everything's all aligned correctly, and it's very easy and simple to work with. So that's how I set up a lot of my art for workflow. I keep a master page that has the full graphic in it, so at any time I can go back and check that out. Maybe I'm trying to make sure that I've got certain colors set up in a certain way, and then I have them all on different pages, and I could label each one of these. I could rename it and say this one's going to be lavender. I'll rename that page, and I'll say lavender. And now at the bottom I know that that's that color, and that's what I'm going to set to the cutter. So that's very simply how we set it up and set up the artwork for workflow, multi-pages and separating it out in there so it's simple to output to my cutter, and selecting all of one color across the entire image. Now I've got a kind of a neat project for the last thing here. I'm going to create an overlap, and I'm going to try to recreate the Olympic rings here. So let's go and take a look in Corel. And we'll go back to page 2 where I had everything set up. I don't need this guy anymore, and I was going to show you on this one here. Let's zoom in on this. This is another one where you can use the simplify. You can see I've got a lot of different stuff going on here, so maybe I want to take the leaves and everything, and I'll select everything on here. And I want it to be 2 separate objects for cutting. You can see where the leaves are kind of overlapping on that. And I'll do that simplify. Now this is a lot of different objects, so it's going to take it a minute or two to work through all this. But it's going to basically take all of the leaves that are intersecting there and create them into a single object, and then do the same for down in the heart itself. You see where it cut everything out there. And all those are interconnected with it. So it made the graphic very simple to work with, and I could overlap it. This design really, though, I could have had this one, except with the leaves that do need to be kind of welded together. I could have had it just two separate objects. Uh-oh, it's not responding. Hopefully we don't lose this here. If we do, I can bring it up quickly. But there we go. So now it's its own separate object. I could have just overlaid those. In a lot of our films, you can lay one on top of the other and it will adhere. So that's why I had that one there to show you folks. So we'll just delete that guy, and we'll go back to a regular view. So I've got this down here for something for me to kind of use as a reference, and I've created my first circle here. It's a single object, and if we look at that in wireframe, it's going all the way around. It's just got a fill on the inside of it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm kind of use some of my alignment tools to work with this. I'll take this first ring here, and I'm going to move it to the side, and as I move it to the side, I'm holding it with my left click button, and I'll tap my right click button, and that makes a copy of it. Now if I want to keep it aligned, say I want these two level on the top, I'll hold down my shift key as I move it, and that holds it in proportion and locked in kind of top and bottom with it. So that's our second circle there. And I'll do the same with this. I'll start dragging it across, hold the shift key so it's nice and even, and I'll right click in that one there. Now I need two more down in here, but maybe these guys aren't distributed very well, so I can select all those, and using some of the tricks that you guys learned earlier. These are just align and distribute. And we'll do distribution, and we're going to do even spacing, and I hit apply, and everything's nice and even on my spacing now. Very good. So now I'll take one of these, grab that guy there, and I'll start to drag it out. I'll do my right click, put it here. That looks good to me. And one more over here. I right clicked as I dragged it across. And these two, maybe I didn't hold down the shift key that time, so I'll make sure that the top of them is nice and even, and we're looking good there. And now I'll start adding some color. We'll take this one here. We'll make it a yellowish gold somewhere down in here. And this guy's going to be black. And this one we'll make green. Do a darker green than this guy here. So green color. And this one here is supposed to be red. So we've got all our colors. Now we need to start working on the overlaps in between it. So I'm going to take this yellow one, and we'll first do the overlaps right here. I'll take the yellow, and I'm going to arrange it to the back of the page. So I could do arrange and order, and to back a page, Control-End, another shortcut there that we can work with. And here's the trick with creating a design that has interlocking. I'm going to hit Control-C and copy this, and Control-V. The copy is going to be on top of this. Now I want this section here gone, so what I'll do is I'll go over to my tools here, and on the crop tool, we'll open that up a little bit, and we've got the eraser. I'll select that eraser, and I'm going to come over here. I've got a real small nib for some reason. Let's make that bigger. Let's see how that does. There we go, something bigger on there in the nib. And I'm going to come and erase this right in here. And you'll see because I've only got the yellow selected, that's all it erases is right there. Now I'll go back and I'll select this one here, and I'll hold the shift key so I've got my top one, which if I move it aside you can see it's missing that portion there. And I'll grab the blue one and I'll select both of them, and now I'm going to use my trim function. And when I hit the trim on it, it trimmed right in there. I can delete this top one, and now you can see that we've got the single one there, but my blue is trimmed out in the bottom here, and I have the appearance of an interlocking design. Same needs to be done on this one here, where the yellow needs to be on top there and below here. So I'll take the yellow, Control-C, Control-V, go back to my eraser, and I'm going to erase this portion in here. I'll take this top one and then grab the black, and we'll do the trim function. Now if I delete my top one there, you can see that it's under, over on there. Very easy to work with. I've created an interlocking design, and it flows through there. And we could do the same with the green. Now one thing you need to realize, though, if I take a look at this in view, and I go to wireframe on this, there's still some lines going across here and here. So we need to get rid of those. So maybe I'll take this portion here on these, and we're going to go to Simplify. When I click on Simplify, you'll see it got rid of all the overlaps there, and now this is nice and easy to work with on cutting. So it still looks the same here, but I don't have any of those lines going across. Let me bring it back to wireframe for you, and I'll hit Control-Z. And you can see where in here and here I would have cut lines crossing over each other, and it's not necessarily what I want. I want it open so that you don't have multiple layers stacking up. And I'll just go to that trim function, and it gets rid of those overlapping lines. So right now I could finish out the rest over here, but we're starting to run a little short on time, so I want to double check before I continue on to finish this out and check with Jody and see if we have any questions that people have out there.
Hi, Stephen. I do not have any questions for you, so you must have done a pretty thorough job of explaining.
Oh, boy. Hopefully I didn't put them all to sleep. I know it's a Tuesday afternoon, but if anybody does have questions about something I've done here so far, please just type it in there and let us know. We'll give it a couple seconds here. And while we're waiting for some of that, I'll run through the green one here. So on the green one, I guess I want it under and over right there. So I have to have this on the bottom of the page, so I'll do Shift and Page down, put it to the bottom of the page. We'll copy it and paste it. And it needs to go under right there, so I need to erase that portion. So I'll erase right in here. And it needs to go under right here, so I'll erase that. And now I can select that portion, go to here, and we'll trim that. And we'll trim on this guy over here. And we'll trim that one. And I can delete my top one, and we're all set. So I've made some Olympic rings here. Don't we have the Olympics coming up in London pretty soon here? Summer Olympics, I think, right around the corner. Again, don't forget to simplify this. If we look at this in wireframe, I've got some lines going across, so I still need to take everything here and do the simplify tool, so it's kind of what you see is what you get, and it'll get rid of those lines in there. And of course, it's taken a couple seconds to think about that, and there we go. Anything, Jody?
No, sir. Oh, wait. One just came in. So let's see. Okay, so in Illustrator, Kevin says, in Illustrator you can quickly select Same As and pick Fill Color or some other object. Is the Find and Replace wizard the fastest way to do this in Corel?
It is the fastest way to do this in Corel that I know of. There may be some faster way out there. I just haven't found it yet. That is an advantage that Illustrator has. It's a very neat feature, and I'd love to see it in CorelDraw. Unfortunately, there are some things in CorelDraw that Illustrator can't do as quickly, and there's some things in Illustrator that CorelDraw and vice versa, etc. Like the boundary tool that I talked about earlier and that I use for anything that's digital print and cut. I have not found any easy way to simply, just like I do here, I can select all this, do the boundary that selects it, and I've got a perfect cut line that goes all the way around that. There's nothing nearly that fast in Illustrator. It's a few more steps to get the same result, but unfortunately in Corel that is the fastest that I've personally seen. So maybe the guys at Corel will listen to us and make something a little faster.
And Anne would like to know if there's an easy way to see your different layers.
To go between the different layers, I can go over to my Layer Manager view, and we've got the different layers over here. Let me see where I'm at. I should have, oh, there they are. I was on the wrong thing. I can see the different layers over here. I've got page 1. Why isn't it showing me what I want to? Of course, it's not going to. Page 6 and page 1. Edit across. Normally, I've got this showing all my layers here. And for some reason, it's not. Normally, it does show all the layers out here. I don't know why. I must have hit something on here that's not showing me everything. Because as I go across the layers, I should be able to see everything on here in my objects. So I think I hit something inadvertently. That's my grid. But yes, normally it would show all the layers over here. I've got to figure out what I did. And sometimes that happens where you hit a button and don't realize it. And you've got to go back and reset the page on there. But it should show all of the layers over here, and you can select the different objects in it. Now I'm perplexed. I got to figure that out. Any other questions, Jody?
No, sir. No, Stephen, that's the last of the questions.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll finish it up then a couple minutes early, and here I thought I was going to go over. We talked about the interlocking design, the trick to create an overlap there, and how to simplify when complete, which are very useful tools. I had somebody that made a lot of Celtic designs, and that was a favorite kind of trick of theirs. Again, I'm Stephen Jackson, Education Specialist and Trainer at Imprintables Warehouse. And this was a Great Garment Graphics webinar. You can feel free to contact us at 800-347-0068. My email address is stephen@imprintables.com, and my direct desk line is 518-630-6655. I would ask that anybody has suggestions for future presentations, or if they have some questions on this one, please feel free to contact me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. And I do like suggestions for future webinars, because that's the best way for us to get what you guys are looking for out there to help everyone out. So again, thank you to everyone for coming by. And unless we have any more questions, Jody?
We just had one last one. Tony wanted you to recommend a good training video for Corel.
There's some good systems out there, and I don't want to advertise one over another, because there are a lot of good systems, but some of the best training available is absolutely free. We've got some great stuff here on Great Garment Graphics, but I also get a lot of ideas, and every once in a while I'll come up with a new trick by simply going to YouTube and typing in CorelDraw tutorial. And I think last time I checked, there was well over 200,000 different videos out there, including some of mine and some of Great Garment Graphics. And you can just pick and choose from them, and maybe you're looking for a specific thing. Like the other day, I wanted to figure out a little bit more advanced portion of the mesh fill tool, and I went to YouTube and did CorelDraw tutorial mesh, and found quite a few of them on there, and some of them are very good. For systems out there, if you want to contact me, I can give you a couple that I personally like, but I'm not going to endorse anyone specifically over a webinar.
Great suggestion. And I think that wraps it up for us.
Okay. Again, thanks everybody for coming by, and feel free to contact us, and hopefully we'll see you at the next webinar on May 24th. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you, Stephen.